Hey, sorry about that. I accidentally closed the wrong window.
Yeah, that happens. So,
Um,
are you familiar with the channel from typology stuff?
yeah, I over the last summer I got into personality typing and I looked around on YouTube and I got familiar with a couple of channels and you were one of them.
Do you do you want me to type you?
That'd be great. I don't want to presume anything, but
No, we'll make a
that would be
video.
awesome.
Okay, let's see. I'm just waiting for Kimberly to finish her work anyway. She's got some clients. She got this family that comes and they all get their hair cut and they all sit in the living room and then one at a time they go in and get their hair cut and the rest of them all wait for the other ones. It's like three kids and two adults, the whole family. Anyway, um, so let's see. I haven't typed. I really, it's like I don't do a lot of typing and anymore. I guess it's an interesting thing to do because, well, what do you think? What do you think about the typing process in general? Do you have a method you use to type people?
Um, well, I got into typology entirely for self-interested reasons. Like I kind of just wanted to better myself. So
Well, what do you
I'm
think? What do
not
you?
totally.
How do you think knowledge of cognitive functions has changed the way you interact with the world?
I have new ways to think about things
Okay.
in the sense that, I, in some ways, I would do things and just not think about them metacognitively, like why I'm doing it. I'm just doing it just because,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like another way to kind of conceptualize the difference between just doing an action and thinking about it and why it happens.
What do you think if you were to say that service work includes all work that involves completing a task for somebody else, basically, and you were to call creative work, in contrast, um, creating something that previously didn't exist, trying to draw a distinction between something like haircutting, which is service work, or teaching, like what I do, service work, and creative or productive work, such as building a house. Do you think the What do you think about that distinction?
I think ultimately they're both services to society. So it's I mean it's there, but it's in a sense not really all that meaningful to me because society's benefiting and so
Um, do you
I'm
think
kind of
that?
consequentialist anyways.
I, I, what I'm saying is, do you think that there's a difference fundamentally between cutting hair and building a house? In that, when you're done cutting hair, somebody has a different haircut. So something's been attained, quote unquote. Something's been created, I guess, in a way. But it's not really a creation so much as it is the completion of a maintenance service. Whereas if you're building a house, then there's something tangible that existed that didn't exist before. So what I'm trying to determine is how arbitrary or artificial is the distinction.
And I think that ultimately it's entirely artificial because depending on the person, like getting a haircut might be more tangible to them than just a house. Like they might be more focused on themselves than the outside world. So I think ultimately it just depends on the person. So that would make it artificial.
Okay. What do you think makes something? What would be an example of something equivalent that would be organic? Can you think of anything?
Uh, the uh, law of conservation of energy.
Okay. Do you like Christmas songs?
Uh, Sometimes, but like to be honest, not that much. I do love music, but Christmas songs represent a very small portion of my music.
Um,
Like
do you
there,
have do you have
like maybe a couple songs.
do you have favorite and least favorite Christmas songs though? Considering you gonna inevitably hear them as you walk around the malls and stores of the world around Christmas time, you probably have developed some favorites at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, I have some favorites, but by and large, I'm kind of neutral or slightly positive towards it.
What are your favorite ones?
But there's a song by a band called the Bahamas. It's like
But I'm talking about
sort of
classic
thing.
Christmas songs that you're gonna hear in the
Oh,
shopping mall.
classic Christmas songs. To be honest, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really like. They're there, but I don't pay attention to them. Like if I didn't put it there, it's just background noise.
I see.
I see. Like I don't know, it's just elevator music to me.
Are you tapping your knee?
Are you? Yeah,
Are you tapping both knees or just one knee?
I've been switching.
Okay. Is this something you do on a regular basis? Bounce your knees up and down?
Yeah, all the time. But
Uh-huh.
that should be qualified with the fact that I do have ADD and I am on stimulants. But I do that when I'm not on them anyway.
Okay. Well, that kind of narrows things down pretty good. Let me see. What do you value more? Being opportunistic or being deliberative?
I think that would depend on like the situation. The context really. It's I don't know how I don't really have a universal law for that, but
Do you feel that you are adequately deliberative and adequately opportunistic? Inadequately of either? Excessively of either? Which do you think? Or just right on
um,
both?
I am probably inadequate in both, actually. Like I don't know. Like I feel like I could be more.
That's an interesting answer. Um, hmm. Which person are you likely to find more contemptible? The person who has a habit of being unkind or a person who has a habit of lying?
Unkind.
Um, which do you find more pleasing? Affirmation of other people or efficiency in your actions?
It depends on who I'm doing the action for. If I'm doing the action for other people, I want affirmation from them, like as a confirmation, as a form of like confirmation. But if I'm doing it for myself, then I just want it to be as efficient as possible. Like that's within reason for me.
How often when you say you start to do a given task and then realize that you needed to set it up a little bit better before you started it? For example, You start to do the dishes, but then you realize, oh, you know what? I need to clear the drying area first because I'm gonna have no place to put them if I don't clear the drying area. Like, how often are you likely to jump ahead before and then have to stop and go back and fix, like, you know, oh, I should have moved that shit down before I picked this thing up. Like, how often are you likely to encounter poor order of operation experiences like that?
So I think if it's like, as long as it's like a routine process or something that I know how to do, then it's probably more, I'm more like consistent with the order of operations. And because I mean, I might find new ways to do things around the order of operations, like so I don't have to always follow them, but generally, like I will keep it so that I'm obeying like the rules then for the job to get done.
If neither Rudy nor Donnie committed the crime, and one of them knows who did, and one of them knows who didn't. I mean, one of them doesn't know who did, sorry. So if either Mary or Joey, we're going to call them, if either Mary or Jody, neither Mary nor Jody committed the crime, but either Mary or Jody, and not both, know who committed the crime. And if Mary knows Steven, then she doesn't know who committed the crime. But if Joey knows Steven, then Mary doesn't know Steven, and Mary does know who committed the crime. If Steven is Bob's son, and Bob is Mary's wife, what can we conclude?
I have no idea.
I don't blame you. That was a little too complicated. I could barely follow it myself, and I was making it up. Let me ask you a different question.
I was following you for a while, and then you lost me, and then I couldn't catch back up.
Yeah, I think the point was that the takeaway from that was that Mary knew who committed the crime. That's what I would say. But regardless, when you have arguments with people that make you upset, do you get upset more likely because they're engaging in personal attacks, or because they're shifting ground and not responding to what you say? Which of those two?
So the shifting ground, and what was the other one?
Making personal attacks.
If someone shifts ground, I'll just shift right back. And like basically, I'll just do what they just did to me to them in some way. So it's not really much of a problem. Personal attacks, they can make me emotional if it's somebody that I actually care about, but generally they don't really bother me all that much. Because I don't value many people's opinion of me. Well, in some ways.
Do you feel that you have...
Daddy, let's go hump!
Do you feel like you have, that people tend to It's going to be either like you a lot or not like you.
It's changed over time. I've noticed it changes with the amount of like effort I put in socially. If I decide not to put in effort, people just don't like, they're just ambivalent. But if I actually like try to be outgoing, then people generally like either really like me or really don't. But it varies.
I see. Do you make music?
No. I have dabbled in instruments throughout my life. Drums when I was younger, drums again when I got to college. Like a very basics of guitar last summer. I want to, but I don't. I listen to music every day though. Like if I have available ears, then I have music on.
If you didn't know what type I was, what questions would you ask to type me?
If I didn't know what type you were, what?
And you wanted to type me, what questions would you ask?
If I wanted to type you, is that what you said?
Yeah, if you didn't know what type I was and you wanted to type me, what questions would you ask?
Are you like... When you get... I guess it would be like, how do you... Or what do you think you're good at, essentially?
Okay. And if I said arguing, what would you conclude?
I would say, why?
Why am I good at it, or why is that my answer?
No, like, why are you good at it? Like, explain to me. Like, prove to me that you're a good arguer, I guess. I want to see like how you do it.
Okay. Well, would you like me to argue a point, or do you want me to explain it?
I'm confused how those two things are different.
Well, I could demonstrate arguing a point, or I could explain my mental approach, the mental approach I take towards going about arguing a point, you know? So, for example, I could discuss my assessment of the question. Say, okay, well, if I faced a question like this, I would probably first look at it to see if blah, 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 which is more of a kind of instructive approach, I guess. Or I could say, all right, let me argue abortion should be illegal, and then proceed to do so.
So that to me would probably indicate like higher TI, I guess. I'm fairly new to this, so like I'm not like totally confident in that. That's what I would think.
Okay. How do you define TI, or what do you think it is? I'm not disagreeing with your conclusion there. I'm just curious about this.
Well, I mean, to me, TI seems like logic, right? It's what you can do to essentially, which it's for me, it's like an extrapolation. Take one fact and you basically create more information from that axiom, I guess.
Okay.
That's what it is to me.
So,
like, if I asked you to defend...
oh, go ahead. Keep going, please.
I was just saying, if I asked you to defend something, and you, like, because you broke it down like that, that seems to me like you would have, like, that is inherently indicative of that line of thinking, and the fact that you were going into it easily, or what seemed like relatively, or in a relatively articulative way, I think that would be indicative.
Okay, well, here's what I think about you right now, where I'm leaning, is I think you're an ESTP who thinks he's an ENTP. I keep in mind I've never met you before or talked to you about anything before. Am I right? Or do you think you're an ENTP?
Never. I have absolutely no idea. I've thought about it in so many different ways that I have no idea now. I tested INTP a lot, and that was the first thing I learned about, so I think I have a bias, but that was what I thought I was.
Okay. Well, I see you as probably almost certainly an SE or an NE type, which means either ENTP, ENFP, ESTP, or ESFP. I don't see you as an FI type. I see you as a TI type. So that eliminates ENFP and, what do you call it? ESFP. I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% sure. But if you're... Because people do a good imitation of TI sometimes. If I don't really, like, chase it down all the way, I can see very good imitations of it. But I don't think you're imitating it. I think you're TI. And so that puts you down in my book as either ENTP or ESTP. But what I get from you is what I get from Taylor. I get the same sort of vibe from Taylor, which is I thought for you was an ENTP for a long time, but I don't think you're an ISTP because that would mean you have no ability to like come up with ideas. And you have pretty much appropriate amount. So that would mean 8 slot NE probably. So that's my take on you, is that you are a smart ESTP who will almost always test NTP on tests because intuitives are way overrepresented in the testing world.
No, it's because the questions in the tests are stupid.
Well, there's that
You
too.
like to think you're an intuitive.
Okay. What?
Yeah, basically. But I could be wrong. I haven't. The thing is, it's like, do you write fiction or nonfiction or poetry or something like that?
Sorry, I can't. You're.
Do you write fiction or nonfiction, poetry, like any kind of writing with typing, writing?
I don't do any writing. I did keep a journal for like very, very like few and far between. But like I think about like writing sometimes, but I don't actually do it. It's mostly just like in my imagination, just like running wild in my head. I'm not actually going to record it because it would be too much effort. Even though if it was easy, I might do it. But
I see. So you find yourself not prone to action? Are you
sometimes, yeah.
sometimes?
I think a lot of the time I am. Sometimes I overcompensate, probably. So I think a lot of the time I am.
How do you do with chicks?
Like it's kind of just like luck of the draw for me. Like it's worked out more than it probably has a right to have, given my what I've social like I guess inadequacies or deficiencies. Yeah, deficiencies. But it's worked out.
What do you think your social deficiencies are?
I'm not like the most outgoing person. A lot of like sometimes I can be, but most of the time I'm kind of just like pretty quiet, so I don't really meet many people. But like usually I'll like break that pattern every once in a while. And things are like good, but generally my behavior is like fairly introverted, which means low interaction.
So what do you spend your time doing when you're sprung?
What do I spend my time doing when I'm what?
When you're sprung on stimulants.
Oh, I try to get work done, be productive as possible,
What kind of work?
because I'm not going to be productive when I come down.
What kind of work?
Well, I'm not as productive.
What kind
Schoolwork.
of schoolwork? Oh, schoolwork. I see. Do you
Like,
get do you get good grades in your classes?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
Do I get what classes?
do you get good grades in your classes? Good grades.
Oh, I get generally no. Some grades, some classes I do really well in. Some classes I don't. But that's probably an effort thing.
What like what are you
Slash
studying?
organization.
What are you studying and how much longer do you have to go? What are you studying and how much longer?
Finance, and I have the end of this semester.
Okay, well,
You said, what am I studying in it?
I just said how much longer. Yeah, you answered it. I continue to say estp. Susie, you got any thoughts? Having came in really late, obviously, but
I just dropped it in at the end. Like, just first impression is SENI, but which type I don't really know.
yeah,
He looks ISTP.
I don't think he's an ISTP, but he might be. It's possible, I guess. I don't see polar in E, but I
He
haven't really
doesn't
tested it.
doesn't seem very extroverted. I don't think so.
Yeah, my conception of it is that I want to be extroverted, but I'm actually introverted.
How many different ways can you think to get a bug out of the house? A lot of different ways? A couple of different ways?
Well, you can get a cup and a piece of paper, trap it, take it out. You could like get a vacuum. You could just leave the window open, let it go out naturally over time. You could probably just leave it there, and it might leave by its own.
Okay,
You could get like poison.
I don't think that's polar in E. But were you less introverted before you got medication for ADHD?
When I come down, I'm less introverted. When I'm up, I'm more introverted. Or sorry, more extroverted.
More extroverted. Okay.
Yeah, when I'm like on the up, extroversion goes up, and when I come down, I get introverted and like, you know.
What do you think?
Shitty.
What do you think feeling more introverted is like? Like, what does that mean to you?
That means I'm like really in my own head, and I'm like essentially not really interacting with the outside world at all. I'm just like thinking about something in my head. Like, I don't know, I'll be having an argument with myself over something. Not like a multiple personality, just like I'm trying to figure out what's actually the right thing here. And I'll just be like almost ruminating on that.
Can you give me an
But
example of
like,
something
I
that
don't
you
know, I'll
might?
be walking down the street.
Can you give me an example of something you're going to go back and forth like that about?
An example of something what?
That you might do that with. You might sort of go back and forth with yourself about trying to determine the right course.
So any number of things. Like it could be like just social interaction I had like hours ago or years ago. It could be a problem I saw in class that I didn't understand. It could be just like something I saw on the news and I want to like didn't like fully digest it because didn't know what to make of it or something. Like
Okay.
anything that I feel like is not certain, I might attach to it and like just get lost in that.
Okay, well, I mean, I think ESTP. I'm going to say there's an 84% chance you're an ESTP despite your reported introversion. And there's a 15% chance that you're an ISTP.
Really?
Yeah, 84% chance ESTP, 15% chance ISTP, 1% chance something else. That's what I would say.
Interesting.
Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People.